You've always been dependable. Rebecca, my mother said, setting her fork down with care. But Audrey has presence. People notice her. The words landed softly. That was what made them hurt. I felt my shoulders stiffen, but I didn't speak right away. Silence had always been my role at this table. My father kept his eyes on his plate. My sister smiled politely, the kind of smile that waited for applause. Then I said it. Then Audrey can take over the mortgage next month. The air shifted. My father looked up sharply. What mortgage? This story is an original creation by the writing team of the Family Afterlight channel, inspired by the hidden corners of family life and told with the purpose of fostering emotional connection and spreading understanding. My mother frowned as if I had misspoken. Rebecca, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time, I said. My voice surprised me. It didn't shake. You just decided who matters more. I'm responding accordingly. Audrey laughed once, softly. You're being dramatic. I met her eyes. I've been quiet. There's a difference. My father cleared his throat. Let's slow down. What are you talking about? I pushed my chair back an inch. The sound cut through the room. The payments. The ones that go out every month. The ones I've been covering so no one had to worry. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. We never asked you to do that. You asked me not to let the bank send notices. I said, you asked me to handle it quietly. I did. Audrey's smile faded. Mom. My mother waved her hand. This was temporary help. Rebecca likes to exaggerate responsibility. I nodded once. That's fine. Temporary help ends. My father stared at me as if I had changed shape in my chair. You're saying you've been paying for the house. I'm saying I won't anymore. No one spoke. The silence felt heavier than shouting ever could. I stood. I didn't bring this up to punish anyone. I brought it up because I'm done disappearing. I reached for my coat. As I did, I thought of how many people listen to stories like this and recognize themselves in the quiet one. If this moment feels familiar, stay with me. Some truths take time to unfold. Behind me, my mother said my name, sharp and warning. I didn't turn around. I didn't drive straight home after leaving my parents' house. I sat in my car with the engine running, hands on the steering wheel, breathing like I'd just crossed something invisible and permanent. My phone buzzed once, then again. I didn't look. The next morning, I was back where I always was at my desk near the port of Tacoma, reviewing shipping schedules that actually followed rules. My supervisor, Mark, leaned against my cubicle wall. You look tired, he said. I'm fine, I replied. He nodded. Good. I need you to walk accounting through the reroute costs. No one else caught the error. I opened the spreadsheet. I'll send it in 10 minutes. That's why I trust you, Mark said, already walking away. Trust. At work. It came easily. I fixed problems before they announced themselves. I absorbed pressure so others didn't have to. No one clapped, but things stayed standing. That had always been enough. At lunch, my phone buzzed again. Audrey's name this time. Are you calm now? She said when I answered. I'm at work, I said. What do you want? She exhaled sharply. You embarrassed Mom. I stated a fact. You didn't have to do it like that. Like what? Publicly. I kept my voice even. There were 4 of us at the table. That's public for this family, she snapped. Dad barely slept. I closed my eyes. Did you ask him why silence stretched? You always do this, Audrey said finally. You make things uncomfortable and then act superior. I make things accurate, I said. You just benefit when they aren't. She hung up. That evening, I unlocked my apartment in Olympia and set my bag down by the door. The place was quiet in a way that didn't judge me. I poured a glass of water and leaned against the counter as my phone lit up again. This time, it was my mother. Rebecca, she said, skipping my name like it annoyed her. Your father feels blindsided. I've felt invisible, I replied. For years. That's not fair. I didn't say it to be fair. I said it to be true. She lowered her voice. Families don't keep score. I thought of invoices, bank confirmations, emails marked urgent. Someone always does. I said, they just don't call it that. She didn't respond. After the call ended, I opened my laptop. The mortgage portal was already bookmarked. I stared at the screen, not with anger, but with clarity. I had built a life on being dependable. I was only now realizing how expensive that had been. The story my family liked to tell had always been simple. Audrey stepped up. Audrey held us together. Audrey knew how to handle people. It was a story that grew louder every year. At the next family gathering, my aunt leaned across the table and squeezed Audrey's hand. Your parents are so lucky, she said. Not everyone has a daughter who takes charge when things get hard. Audrey smiled, practiced and gracious. I just did what anyone would. I watched my mother nod along. Proud. My father added, she's always been strong under pressure. No one looked at me. Later, when the dishes were stacked and the room thinned out, my mother cornered me near the sink. You seemed quiet tonight, she said. Not unkindly. I usually am, I replied. She sighed. Audrey carries so much emotional weight. You know that. I carry other things. I said. She waved her hand. You're good with details. This is different. Different had become the word they used when they didn't want to look too closely. That night, Audrey followed me to the front door. You don't have to make everything about money, she said. I don't, I replied. It just keeps being made about you. Her jaw tightened. You act like I asked for this. You didn't stop it. She looked away. Mom and Dad needed someone visible. And I was invisible. I said. She shrugged. You're better at behind-the-scenes stuff. You always have been. The next week, my father called me during my lunch break. Your mother mentioned you're feeling underappreciated, he said carefully. I'm feeling erased. I said, that's dramatic. He replied, we all know you help. Knowing isn't the same as saying. I said, and saying isn't the same as telling the truth. He paused. Audrey handles the big picture. I handle the consequences. I said. He changed the subject. Are you still covering things this month? That was how it worked. Avoid the story. Keep the system running. When Audrey started posting online about community work and family resilience, people commented with heart emojis and praise. One caption read, "Family is about showing up when it counts." My mother shared it. I didn't comment. I saved the post. At dinner the following Sunday, my mother said, "People really admire Audrey. She makes us look stable." I set my fork down. Is that what matters? She frowned. Why are you being difficult lately? I'm not being difficult, I said. I'm being accurate. Audrey rolled her eyes. You always do this when attention isn't on you. I looked at her. You always assume it belongs there. My father cleared his throat. Let's not turn this into something ugly. It already is, I said quietly. You've just learned how to live with it. No one argued. They didn't need to. The story they preferred was already written, and for a long time, I had helped them tell it by staying silent. The first payment wasn't supposed to mean anything. My father called one afternoon. His voice lowered like the walls might listen. Your mother's medical bills hit harder than we expected, he said. We're fine. We just need a little breathing room. How much is the mortgage this month, I asked. There was a pause. About $2,175. I can cover it, I said. Just this month. That was how the door opened. A week later, my mother called. The bank set up an online portal. She said, it's easier if you log in and handle it. Just until things settle. Send me the information. I replied. No one said thank you. No one said don't worry. It was treated like an administrative task, the way people talk to someone who always fixes things. The second payment came with less explanation. The third came with none. By the fourth, my father said, "You're so good with this stuff," as if competence were consent. Months stacked quietly. I stopped counting out loud and started counting privately. Each confirmation email went into a folder. Each transfer came out of something I had planned for myself. When I mentioned taking a professional certification, my mother said, "Maybe next year. Let's not stretch things right now." When I talked about moving closer to work, my father frowned. "We might still need your help." Audrey knew I was helping. She just never asked how. "Mom says you're handling the boring parts," she told me once. "I'm glad someone is." "I'm not bored," I said. She laughed. "You know what I mean." By the 12th payment, my retirement account was untouched but stalled. By the 20th, I stopped looking at vacation listings. By the 25th, my bank balance dipped lower than it ever had as an adult. The emails from my mother came in patterns. "Just this month. The bank is being difficult. Your father is stressed. Always urgency, never details." One evening, after I transferred the money, my father called. "Everything's taken care of," he said, relieved. Audrey helped us think through the long term. I held the phone tighter. "What long term, you know?" he said vaguely. "The plan." I realized then that my payments had become invisible even to them. The help had turned into background noise. At the dinner table months later, my mother said, "We were so lucky Audrey was there when things got tight." I looked down at my plate. My hands were steady, but something in my chest shifted. Later, alone in my apartment, I opened the mortgage portal and scrolled through the history. 32 payments, same amount, same account, same quiet exit from my life. Month after month, I printed everything. The confirmation numbers, the dates, the notes that said processed successfully. I stacked the pages in order, not angrily, but carefully. It felt like proof of existence. The next time my father called and said, "We're counting on you," I answered, "You've been counting on me for a long time." He laughed softly, thinking I was joking. "That's family." I didn't correct him. I just opened my laptop again, stared at the number scheduled for the 15th, and understood that what I had been carrying wasn't just the mortgage. It was the silence around it. The screen didn't change when I clicked pause. The mortgage portal simply refreshed, polite and indifferent, as if it had no idea what it was holding together. A small line of text appeared confirming the change would take effect before the 15th. I closed the laptop and waited for the feeling everyone warned me about. Guilt, panic, regret. What came instead was quiet. My phone rang an hour later. My father's name lit up the screen. Did something happen with the account he asked without greeting? I paused the payment. I said, "There was a sharp inhale. Why would you do that? Because I said I would." I replied, "At dinner." "You can't just decide that," he said. "The bank won't wait." "I have been waiting," I said, "for 3 years." He lowered his voice. "This puts us in a difficult position. I've been in one," I said, alone. He didn't answer. My mother took the phone. "Rebecca," she said, calm but tight. "You're overreacting." "I'm reacting accurately," I said. "We raised you better than this," she said. "Family doesn't pull support to make a point." "I didn't pull support," I said. "I stopped replacing it." She clicked her tongue. "You know your sister is under pressure." "I know," I said. "I was under pressure too. I just paid it." Audrey texted before the call ended, "This is not the way to handle things." I typed back, "This is the way things have been handled. By me." There was no reply. The next day at work, Mark stopped by my desk again. "Everything good?" he asked. "Yes," I said. And for once, it wasn't a lie. That night, my mother left a voicemail. "We're disappointed," she said. "You're creating unnecessary stress." I saved it. I didn't respond. 3 days passed. Then 4. No calls, no updates, just silence where urgency used to live. On the 5th day, my father texted, "We need to talk." I stared at the message, then locked my phone and set it face down on the table. The space felt earned. For years, every crisis had found me automatically. Every gap had been filled with my time, my money, my attention. The system had worked because I had never stepped out of it. Now I had. The payment stayed paused. The silence stayed loud. And for the first time since this all began, I understood that stopping wasn't abandonment. It was a line being drawn. The photo came from Mrs. Keaton on a Sunday morning. I hadn't heard from her in months. She lived 3 houses down from my parents, the kind of neighbor who noticed patterns without meaning to. Her message was short. "Thought you should see this." I opened the image. A banner stretched across my parents' front porch, white with deep blue lettering. "Thank you, Audrey, for saving our family home." The words looked permanent, like they had always been true. I stared at it until my hands went cold. I called my mother. "What is this?" I asked as soon as she answered. There was a pause, then a careful sigh. "It's just something small. Audrey didn't even want it. It says she saved the house." "Well," my mother said, choosing each word. "She helped us through a difficult period. I paid the mortgage." I said, "Yes, Rebecca," she replied, her voice tight. "We know that." But Audrey kept us emotionally steady. I laughed once. It came out thin. "So this is about optics." "That's not fair," she said. "People like a positive story. I was part of that story." I said, "You just didn't like how it sounded." She lowered her voice. "You're being sensitive. I'm being erased." She didn't answer. I texted Audrey next. "Did you know about the banner?" She replied almost immediately. Mom thought it would be encouraging. Encouraging to who I typed. There was a longer pause this time. "I didn't design it." She finally wrote. "I didn't stop it either." I locked my phone. That afternoon, I spread the documents across my dining table. 32 confirmations, transfer receipts, emails asking me to cover just this month. I lined them up in order, not to prove anything to myself, but because someone had rewritten the past, and I was done pretending it didn't matter. My phone rang again. This time it was my father. "We didn't think this would upset you," he said. "You didn't think about me at all." I replied, "That's not true." He insisted, "You know how much we appreciate you." "Then say it," I said. "Not privately, not quietly. Say it where you thanked her." He hesitated. "This isn't the time to stir things up. The story is already stirring." I said, "You just picked the version that made you comfortable." He exhaled slowly. "What do you want from us?" I looked at the banner again, frozen in celebration. "I want you to stop telling a story that only works if I stay silent." When the call ended, I folded the documents into a neat stack and placed them in a folder, not as a threat, as a boundary. The banner stayed up. The truth stayed with me. And something inside me settled into place, steady and unmovable, like I had finally decided where I stood. The room was already full when I arrived. People stood in small clusters, glasses in hand, voices low and confident. I recognized a few faces from past holidays, a few from Audrey's professional world. Everyone looked polished, certain they were here for something uplifting. I stayed near the back as my father stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you all for being here," he said, smiling the way he always did when he needed approval. Family means stepping up when it matters most. And tonight, we want to honor our daughter Audrey for doing exactly that. Applause rolled through the room. Audrey stood, gracious, composed. She hugged my mother. Cameras lifted, smiles widened. Behind the screen, Sarah Whitfield caught my eye. She was standing near the laptop, her hands clasped tight in front of her. She gave the smallest nod. The slideshow began. Photos of the house. Audrey on the porch. Audrey with my parents. Arms linked. Faces bright. Captions about resilience. About leadership. About saving what matters. Then the screen went still. A chart appeared. Clean. Precise. Dates listed down the side. Amounts aligned in a column. 32 lines. The room quieted. My father turned toward the screen. Confused. My mother's smile faltered. Audrey's head tilted slightly. "What is this?" she whispered. I stepped forward before anyone could answer. "I didn't plan to speak tonight," I said, my voice steady, clear enough to carry. "But since we're telling stories about who stepped up, I need to add something." Every face turned toward me. "These are the mortgage payments," I continued. "Every month, same amount, same account. For nearly 3 years." My father shook his head. "Rebecca, this isn't appropriate. It's accurate," I said. "And accuracy matters." My mother's voice cut in, sharp. "You could have handled this privately." "I did," I replied, "for a long time." Audrey took a step toward me. "I didn't know it was all you," she said, her voice tight. "I thought you thought it was handled." I said, "So did everyone else." A murmur spread through the room. Someone whispered my name. Someone else said, "I had no idea." My father reached for the microphone again. "Let's take a moment." "No," I said, not raising my voice. "This is the moment." I gestured to the screen. I didn't do this for praise. I did it because the bank needed to be paid. But when the story became something else, when my absence became convenient, I stopped agreeing to disappear. My mother's eyes filled, not with shame, but with fear. "We never meant to erase you." "You did," I said, quietly. Audrey looked down at her hands. "I didn't stop them," she said. "That's on me." The room was silent now. No applause, no glasses clinking. I took a breath. I don't want credit. I don't want ownership. I want the truth to be allowed to exist in the same room as your celebration. My father's shoulders slumped. He didn't argue again. I turned and walked away from the screen, past the tables, toward the exit. No one followed me. No one stopped me. Outside, the air felt lighter against my skin. Behind me, the story they had prepared was broken open, not by anger or revenge, but by facts that refused to stay hidden. I kept walking, knowing that whatever they said after I left would finally have to include me. They came 3 days later. I saw my parents through the peephole before they knocked, standing too close together, like people waiting for a verdict. I opened the door without greeting them. My mother spoke first. "You look well," she said, as if that were a neutral observation. I replied. They stepped inside and paused, taking in the apartment. My father nodded once, slowly. "This suits you." "It does," I said. My mother folded her hands. "The dinner went badly after you left." "I know," I said. That was inevitable. My father cleared his throat. "We talked. A lot." He hesitated. "We want to make things right." I leaned against the counter and waited. "We're adding your name to the house," my mother said quickly. "You earned that. Everyone agrees. I don't want it." I replied. They both stared at me. My father frowned. "Rebecca, this isn't about pride. It's about clarity," I said. I didn't help because I wanted ownership. I helped because there was a need. My mother's voice shook. "You were invisible to us. I see that now. I needed you to see it then." I said, "Not after it became embarrassing." She flinched. My father said, "We never meant for it to turn into a story where you disappeared. But you let it," I said, "because it was easier." Silence settled between us, thick but honest. "We can still fix this," my mother said softly. "We can't undo it," I replied. "We can stop pretending it didn't cost me anything, My father nodded. What do you want from us? I met his eyes. No more quiet expectations. No more private sacrifices that become public myths. If I help, it's named. If I don't, it's respected. My mother wiped her eyes. And Audrey. She has her own reckoning. I said, so do you. They didn't argue. That was new. When they stood to leave, my father paused at the door. You were steady when we weren't, he said. I should have said that sooner. Yes, I replied. You should have. After they left, the apartment felt still, not empty. I stood where I was for a moment, then turned back to the window. I hadn't taken the house. I hadn't taken the credit. I had taken my place back. A week passed before Audrey called. I owe you an apology, she said. There was no performance in her voice this time. I let the story work for me. I know, I replied. I didn't think about what it cost you, she continued. I should have. Yes, I said. You should have. She didn't argue. That mattered. After we hung up, my mother sent a message. We're trying to do better. I didn't respond right away. I read it, let it sit, and left it where it was. That evening, I stood on my balcony as the city settled into itself. My phone rested face down on the table behind me. No one needed anything from me in that moment. At work the next day, Mark stopped by again. You look lighter, he said. I am, I replied. He smiled. Good. You earned it. Later. My father left a voicemail. He didn't ask for help. He didn't explain. He just said, we're managing. That was new too. I thought about all the years I confused silence with loyalty. All the times I told myself that keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. I understood now that peace built on erasure wasn't peace at all. I didn't need my family to change overnight. I needed to stop disappearing. If you're listening to this and recognize yourself in the one who holds everything together without being seen, stay with that recognition. Let it settle. You're not alone in it. I walked back inside, closed the door, and set my phone down where I could see it. I wasn't waiting for permission anymore. The life I was building didn't require it.